Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we've got a special video for you. We've got the Black Widow, our initial reactions to Black Widow after just seeing it today. We both saw it today in cinemas, and this is a spoiler-free review, by the way. Our spoiler review will be out probably Friday, so make sure you stick around for that, but don't worry, this is completely spoiler-free, so yeah.
So, I guess...
Let's just get straight into it. I mean...
Yeah. What were your, initial thoughts on it?
Initial thoughts, I was disappointed in one character in particular. We can go into that in a minute. And then, that was the only really big problem I had with the movie. And then the rest of it was just like, okay, that's alright. Whatever.
Yeah,
kind of
to me, this feels like the most factory-produced MCU movie ever made, maybe. Even more so than something like Captain Marvel or Ant-Man and the Wasp. I could see why those movies came out when they did, or why they were the way they were. But this one, it's just it feels like someone went into a computer, made some algorithm and typed into the algorithm, make Black Widow movie, and it just pressed enter, and the computer spat this out, and this is what we got. And it's not a bad movie. It's certainly not a very good one. I mean,
it's okay. I just didn't need to be made. I think it did. I don't think it needed to be made, but I think if they wanted to explain it and did want to make it, it should have come out Civil War times.
It should have come out either 10 years ago after Iron Man 2, or it should have come out, like you said, after Civil War, I think, because the timing of this movie is incredibly strange, and especially with things that have happened since then. With things that happened in this movie, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you think about it for a while, which I'll get into in the spoiler review, with things that I thought didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Yeah. But let's just get straight into the story first of all, because, I mean, to be honest, it didn't have much of a story for the first, for a good while until it kind of ramps up, and then that's when it's okay, we can see what's happening. But it's pretty much about Black Widow reconnecting with her old family to take on a bad guy. Because they haven't really shown a whole lot of the story in the trailer, so I'm trying to avoid spoilers. True. But yeah, it's Black Widow reconnecting with her old family from Russia to take on this threat that's going to possibly have bad consequences for her and her family. That's what I'd say for it. And the story, it's completely disposable. I mean, it doesn't further Black Widow's character in any way at all. Because the thing I've said or the thing I saw in some reviews was people were saying that Black Widow is a side character in her own movie, and those reviews could not have been more true. This isn't even a Black Widow movie. This is a Yelena Belova movie from the perspective of Natasha Romanoff. It doesn't even, because Black Widow doesn't even go through a character arc in this movie, really. She's the same as she is from the start. She's just kind of tagging along on this mission with Yelena Belova, who, don't get me wrong, I loved that character. I thought she was really good. She was the best thing in the movie, by far, in my opinion. I don't know what you thought of her character.
I thought she was pretty decent. I can't focus on any other character except for Taskmaster, because how bad the character of Taskmaster has been messed up in this movie.
Now that you said that, let's get into because obviously we talked about Black Widow a bit. Well, actually, I guess let's just go through each of the characters. So, Black Widow, she's Black Widow. I mean, they don't do anything new with this character really in this movie. She's just the typical old Black Widow.
There's a few references to the other movies.
And sometimes a bit too many, because they mention it was getting to a point in the movie sometimes where they kept mentioning characters and the Avengers and stuff like that, and just kept mentioning things to do with it. I was like, are we sure this is even a Black Widow solo movie? Because you seem to be mentioning these other people and these other things a bit too much. I was just thinking to myself that, especially with one line, there's one line that one character said where, again, I'll talk about in the spoiler review, where I was like, could this character just please show up? It'd make the movie a lot more interesting. But I don't know if you know which line I'm talking about. You probably don't.
I'm not. I'm completely a bit dazed out. We'll have to speak about it properly during the spoiler review.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it in the spoiler review. But the stuff with Black Widow is just typical Black Widow. We didn't really get anything new with her. She doesn't really go through much of a character arc in this movie. Yelena Belova, on the other hand, she actually does go through a character arc, and I thought she was the best thing in the movie. I mean, Florence Pugh did a good performance. Her character was pretty interesting for the most part. And she's clearly the one that they're setting up to be the next Black Widow and to go forward in the MCU, which I'm all for after this movie, because she was the best thing in it. But if we're talking about the best thing, we might as well go to the worst thing with characters, like we were saying before, because Taskmaster, who, in my opinion, is quite possibly the worst villain I've ever seen in the MCU.
Even
Possibly.
worse than Trevor.
He's up there with Trevor. What they did
Even
to that
at least Trevor was funny. I find
okay.
Trevor funny anyway. I know some people got annoyed, but I
didn't really find him that funny. Yeah, I just thought it was just dumb and annoying. But there's two things, not two things. There's. I don't think this is a spoiler because I was trying to work out a way to dance around this. Taskmaster has 2 lines in this movie.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's really a spoiler. Cause...
Taskmaster has 2 lines in this movie, and the character, I put character in quotation marks because it's not really much of a character, is literally just a killing machine who goes to kill and fight Black Widow. That's Taskmaster's only purpose in this movie.
There's no character, like, they try to do a kind of a character arc, but it doesn't really play off very well, in my opinion.
And I didn't feel, I felt no, just at all, just absolutely zero connection between him and Black Widow in this movie, at all. I didn't feel anything between them. When they were fighting, it was just Black Widow was just fighting some random, disposable bad guy.
It seemed like more of a machine kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just very lifeless.
There's nothing interesting about this version of Taskmaster at all, and I think it's to the point where I think they might need to do what they did with Shang-Chi when we're getting the real Mandarin. I think they might need to do that with Taskmaster, because I hope someone just comes and takes this suit off Taskmaster from this movie and just becomes the real Taskmaster, because I don't know what the hell this was, but that was not Taskmaster.
Yeah, and I think one thing is that I feel like some of Taskmaster's scenes were similar to the ones in, when Winter Soldier scenes, Captain America the Winter Soldier. I feel like some of them were made the same. And
they tried to make it the same, but they didn't develop the character at all.
It failed horribly, and there was no excitement there. I felt more excited doing the Taskmaster side missions in Spider-Man PS4 than watching Taskmaster in this movie.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you agree with me in this. Even though I hate this game, I think Taskmaster was better in that shitty Avengers game that came out last year than he was in this. I'm not lying, by the way.
I think that Taskmaster, and he even fights Black Widow in that game, in the demo. So
and that was cooler than it was in this movie. I mean.
Yeah,
I don't know. Taskmaster was just garbage.
Yeah,
garbage. Yeah,
and considering that's basically one of the main villains in the movie in terms of the fight sequences as well, that's not a very good sign.
Yeah, and just speaking of the fight sequences, the action in this movie, it wasn't anything special. It's the most typical. It does that thing that just it makes me want to strangle whoever just made this movie. Whenever I see people do this in movies, it does that stupid thing. And the one part I noticed it was when Black Widow and Yelena first meet each other again in the movie, and they have that fight scene. They do that thing where it just cuts.
Oh,
and it's just it just keeps
they
can't just keep it focused on one thing because they don't want to show the bad choreography. So it'll just keep snapping between different shots. It cuts once, cuts again, cuts again, and it just keeps doing it.
I get what you mean.
They do that in a lot of movies,
and it doesn't really feel like MCU. That doesn't feel like it. Felt like
it does feel like MCU feels like the crappy MCU movies though, where the action's not good. They just keep.
Because I've seen a movie where there was a fight scene like this, and I thought, and it reminded me of that. When there's a part when Yelena and Black Widow are fighting, and there was one of the parts was shown on the trailer as well. So it was, I don't remember what movie. I feel like it was one of the James Bond movies, but James Bond does it better.
Yeah, it's just it wasn't good. The action just wasn't anything special. And the sad part is I love Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, so I just really wanted her to have a good solo movie, but they didn't do anything that special with it. But also with other characters as well that we didn't mention, who the 2 other most important ones pretty much are Melina, who's Black Widow's mum, as they showed on the trailer, and David Harbour's Red Guardian, or Alexei, or whatever you want to call him, who they were okay characters. I mean, I thought that David Harbour's always going to entertain me because he's David Harbour. I just think he's pretty entertaining. But he was kind of just like his whole thing was just being kind of like a dazed, dopey idiot, kind of. That was like his whole character in this movie, which I don't mind. I thought some of his scenes were kind of funny, but I don't know, even the comedy in this movie. Also, they make a joke, speaking of the comedy, they make a joke with one thing in this movie. It was the scene where they would talk, I don't think it's a spoiler to say this, is it? The part when they're on the helicopter and they're making that joke about, do you know what I'm talking about?
What part is this?
The joke about ripping some of their organs out.
Oh, for God's sake, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just thought that was completely insensitive in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna, that's not a spoiler, is it? It's just a joke. They're not gonna...
this shouldn't have been a joke, but yeah, it is a joke.
Well, yeah, basically, they made a joke out of the fact that Black Widow's, like, ovaries and her reproductive system has been ripped out.
They basically make a joke out of female mutilation.
That's a bit, like,
that's
mad.
Really bad.
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
It went on for so long. I don't know if it was, like, it felt like, it went on for a good few minutes, and I was just like, please stop.
Detail.
I know. It's like before that. I think that they might have. Yeah, but they might have moved past the dick jokes now. Remember in Homecoming and like in Guardians, they've gone the other direction.
Spectrum, haven't they? Yeah, they've gone to the other side of the spectrum. When they made that joke, I was looking around like at the parents of like who brought the little kids to watch this film.
Imagine the little kid just goes into the cinema and thinks, "Yeah, I want to come and watch Black Widow." Like. Be a badass and kill people, and then they just get jokes about bloody ovaries. That was... I don't know what...
It's very insensitive. I don't think that was a good move on Marvel's part.
I don't know what was going through the writers' heads when they wrote that joke. That's just...
I think it was better to make dick jokes than
I would have taken Ralph Boner over that. I would have taken Ralph Boner over what they did to bloody Taskmaster in this movie, but...
Because that's not even, like, insensitive, like, that sort of stuff. That's just, like, taking the piss a bit. Stuff like that actually happens, like, you know, with the stuff that they're making jokes about. Stuff like that actually happens.
I mean, I understand, like, people could say it's just a joke, but it's like, I don't know, it didn't really feel necessary. And that's the thing I hate about the MCU sometimes, it makes jokes out of things that could potentially be serious. Like, even though, obviously, this is more fictional, but, like, the prime example I always go back to is in Ragnarok when Asgard blows up and they just make a big joke out of it. It's just like, that should be a serious moment, but obviously they're not going to do that because it's the MCU. But yeah, those characters were like with Red Guardian and Melina. They kind of just they were okay characters. One thing I wanted to talk about was Ray Winstone's character. I won't say who it is because I haven't really showed him too much in the trailer. I just wanted to say about him. I think. I don't know if I haven't seen too many movies where people were doing, like, Russian accents who weren't actually Russian, but that might be the worst Russian accent I've ever heard in a movie. It was blowing my mind how bad it was. Like, it was almost funny how awful his Russian accent was in this movie. I don't know if that was just me who noticed that.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really take any notice, to be fair. I think I was just sort of...
It was really bad, because I know how he talks.
I just got extremely annoyed at... I just got extremely annoyed at Taskmaster that I couldn't focus on the rest of the movie.
But the annoying thing is Taskmaster's barely in the movie. He shows up like at the beginning and then he just disappears for most, like, he only comes out basically whenever they just require a fight scene, and he just pops up out of nowhere and they don't really explain. And there's things with Taskmaster's character that they show one thing but then they show something else later that's like that kind of contradict. I don't know how to say this without spoiling it, but they kind of contradict each other. That didn't make too much sense to me. But
I mean, we'll get into more detail with this in the spoiler review. The last thing I really want to say is that the best scene I thought in the film was it had no characters in it, and it was a 3-second scene towards the end of the movie, and I think you'll know which one I'm talking about.
I think so. I think I know.
Yeah, I'll go into the spoiler review, but yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to say was it does suffer, I don't know if you noticed, I think it does suffer from that kind of prequelitis sort of thing, where it just throws references here and there, explains things that didn't really need to be explained, particularly with one thing at the end, which I was like, okay, you didn't need to, like, give an origin story to that, but, okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and also the after credit scene, for those of you who are interested, that was, interesting, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but I don't know, there's questions I have with that, but, yeah. I guess that's about it with this movie, isn't it?
Yeah, this is basically just a quick video to get it out for you, to let you guys know what to sort of expect before you go into the movie. But overall, it wasn't great.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's one of the
bad,
worst
but it's
MCU movies.
but the one thing I would say, I'm struggling to think of many MCU movies I wouldn't like. I'd rather rewatch most of the MCU than this. Like, I have no desire to go back and rewatch this ever again. Which is kind of sad because I wanted, even when I was like younger, I wanted a Black Widow movie, but yeah, this wasn't exactly the one I wanted. This is just like typical filler MCU, just kind of happened.
Also, one other thing, if you're contemplating on watching this and you're like, oh, I might not go, I might go, and you're going to pay money, don't waste your money. I'd say just wait for it to come on Disney Plus because you're not missing out. That's what I would say.
You're not missing a whole lot if you don't watch this movie, to be honest. I think it's just, nothing really happened.
I didn't pay for my tickets. I got a voucher code and I'm very happy I used that voucher code. I didn't pay actual money towards
I mean,
this
I wouldn't
movie,
have been annoyed if I put money towards this, but I wouldn't have been like over the moon about it either.
I mean, we have Loki to look forward to, I guess, with talking about that, because obviously the new episode came out today and it was, in my opinion, amazing.
I thought it was amazing too, yeah. But that's for like another video.
That's pretty much
so, if any of you guys have seen Black Widow already, let us know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. Be sure to hit the like button to share this video around YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Be sure to check out our Instagram and Twitter, links in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. See ya!